Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Quinn here. Today, we are going to be reading about Rumpelstiltskin, also a very, very old fairy tale, and a really cool one at that. So let's dive into it. So, Rumpelstiltskin, a fairy tale by the Brothers Grimm. Now, this is probably a more modern take on this tale, but it is a very, very old story. But I've chosen to read this version of it. Alright. There was once a miller who was poor, but he had one beautiful daughter. It happened one day that he came to speak with the king, and to give himself consequence, he told him that he had a daughter who could spin gold out of straw. The king said to the miller, "This is an art that pleases me well. If thy daughter is as clever as you say, bring her to my castle tomorrow, that I may put her to the proof." When the girl was brought to him, he led her into a room that was quite full of straw, and gave her a wheel and a spindle, and said, "Now set to work. And if by the early morning thou hast not spun the straw to gold, thou shalt die." And he shut the door on himself, and left her there alone. And so the poor miller's daughter was left there sitting, and could not think what to do for her life. She had no notion how to set to work to spin gold from straw, and her distress grew so great that she began to weep. Then all at once the door opened, and in came a little man, who said, "Good evening, miller's daughter. Why are you crying?" Sorry, y'all. Sweating. A little hot here today. It's about 80 degrees outside. My central heating and air is not working, so I shall be sweating in this video. Alright. "Oh," answered the girl, "I have got to spin gold out of straw, and I do not understand the business." The little man said, "Well, what will you give me if I spin it for you?" "My necklace," said the girl. The little man took the necklace, and seated himself before the wheel, and whir, 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 3 times around, and the bobbin was full. He then took up another, and whir, 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 3 times around, and that was full. And so he went on till the morning, when all the straw had been spun, and all the bobbins were full of gold. At sunrise came the king, and when he saw the gold, he was astonished very much, and rejoiced, for he was very avaricious. He had the miller's daughter taken into another room filled with straw, much bigger than the last, and told her that as she valued her life, she must spend it all in one night. The girl did not know what to do, so she began to cry. And when the door opened and the little man appeared, and she said, "What will you give me if I spin all this straw into gold?" "The ring from my finger," answered the girl. So the little man took the ring, and began again to send the wheel whirring around. And by the next morning all the straw was spun into glistening gold. The king was rejoiced beyond measure at the sight, but as he could never have enough gold, he had the miller's daughter taken into a still larger room full of straw, and said, "This too must be spun in one night, and if you accomplish it, you shall be my wife." I don't think that seems like too good of a prize there, maybe, man. That's a little disturbing. Alright, where was I at? Sorry, y'all, got sidetracked. Okay. "For he thought, although she is but a miller's daughter, I am not likely to find anyone richer in the world." As soon as the girl was left alone, the little man appeared for the 3rd time, and said, "What will you give me if I spin the straw for you this time?" "I have nothing left to give," answered the girl. "Then you must promise to me the first child you have after you are queen," said the little man. "But who knows whether that will happen," thought the girl. But as she did not know what else to do in her necessity, she promised the little man what he desired, upon which he began to spin until all the straw was gold. And when in the morning the king came and found all done according to his wish, he caused the wedding to be held at once, and the miller's pretty daughter became a queen. In a year's time she brought a fine child into the world, and thought no more of the little man. But one day he suddenly came into her room and said, "Now give me what you promised." The queen was terrified greatly, and offered the little man all the riches of the kingdom if he would only leave the child. But the little man said, "No, I would rather have something living than all the treasures of this world." Then the queen began to lament and to weep, so that the little man had pity on her. "I will give you 3 days," said he, "and if at the end of that time you cannot tell me my name, you must give the child to me." Then the queen spent the whole night in thinking over the names that she had ever heard, and sent a messenger through the land to ask for a wad for all the sorry y'all sent a messenger through the land to ask far and wide for all the names that could be found. And when the little man came the next day, beginning with Caspar, Melchior, Balthazar, she repeated all she knew and went through this whole list, but after each name, the little man said, "That is not my name." And then on the second day, the queen sent to inquire of all the neighbors what the servants were called, and he told the little man all the most unusual and singular names, saying, "Perhaps you are called roast ribs, or sheepshanks, or spittle shanks." But he answered, "Nothing. Those are not my names." The third day, the messenger came back and said, "I have not been able to find one single name, but as I pressed through the woods, I came to a hill, and near it was a little house, and before the house burned a fire, and around the fire danced a comical little man as he hopped on one leg and cried, 'Today do I bake, tomorrow do I brew, the day after that the queen's child comes in, and oh, am I glad that nobody knew that the name I am called is Rumpelstiltskin.'" You cannot know how pleased the queen was to hear that name, and soon afterwards, when the little man walked in and said, "Now, Miss Queen, what is my name?" And she said, at first, "Are you called Jack?" "No," answered he. "Are you called Harry?" she asked again. "No," answered he. And then she replied, "Then perhaps your name is Rumpelstiltskin." "The devil told you that! The devil told you that!" cried the little man. In his anger he stamped and stomped with his right foot so hard that it went into the ground above his knee. Then he seized his left foot with both hands in such a fury that he split in two, and that was the end of him. Alright, y'all. So that one was Rumpelstiltskin. It's a simple story. I really enjoy it, though. It teaches a lesson, I believe, that you always need to be observant. You always need to know who you're working with. You need to know who you're striking bargains and deals with. And if you are a person in a position of power, if you have complete control over a situation, don't sabotage yourself by revealing your weaknesses like Rumpelstiltskin did. He had everything on lock, and then the idiot was dancing around a fire, yelling his name. When no one knew his name, no one would have known his name had he just shut up. Kept that to himself, but he didn't. And thank God he didn't, because dude's a weirdo going after, people's kids and stuff. But stay observant. Watch the world around you. Really look about what's going on. And don't listen to what other people try to tell you. Think for yourself. You have a heart and you have a mind. You have a soul. You can deduce things on your own. And you usually, what you're thinking on your heart and your mind, in a lot of instances, is usually correct. So listen to your intuition. It's important. But I appreciate y'all stopping by. That is my video for the day. I know I haven't posted. It's probably been 2 days. I was kind of a little not feeling well there. It's been hot. My air went out. I was kind of depressed a little bit. I'm getting over that. But just stay healthy, wealthy, and wise. I appreciate y'all. Peace out. Please come back tomorrow to check out my shorts and another video that I will be posting. I'm not sure what I'm going to talk about yet, but I will be reading some more mythology-based stuff. All right, peace.